what do you think is going on right now with the Eagles and Carson Wentz? Best you can suss it out.
Yeah, listen, I think it's clear that they're, I believe they're trying to move him, and at a minimum, they're certainly open to moving him. If you're on a team side, you always want it to look like you're open to moving somebody as opposed to you're trying to move somebody, because it's a better way to position the negotiation. And listen, it looks like they went to market and maybe have been disappointed with the reaction that they've gotten. Or I think we would have seen something by now. So I'm not sure what that means next. It's awful hard to take a guy who's already upset with the organization, have him be aware that at a minimum you're open to trading him and then bring him back. I just can't picture that scenario happening. So I think he's going to end up moving. I'm just not sure when.
So when you're saying Wentz is upset with the organization, what is that? Because I think we kind of know from afar what's Deshaun Watson's issue with the Texans. What best you can tell is Wentz's issue with the Eagles?
Well, first of all, I think there's some similarities in terms of some breakdown in trust and just, personal relationships, which is never healthy. But, listen, if we're trying to look at through his eyes, he was brought back to a team this year that had a very old offensive line, and their two starting wide receivers were scheduled to be Deshaun Watson and Alshon Jeffries, who are probably past their prime and have had a lot of injuries over the last couple of years. And not shockingly, the offensive line that suffered some injuries. And, the way it went down with him being benched, I'm sure he feels like he was singled out and was identified as the problem as opposed to somebody contributing to the problem. And I think if you're already working in an environment where maybe there's a little bit of a breakdown in the relationships and maybe a little almost silent finger pointing, and then you find yourself in a position where it so publicly looks like the organization has singled you out as the cause of this very disappointing season, I can't think of anybody who's competitive and self-confident that wouldn't have some reaction to that.
So what is the framework for a deal like this? We saw, Joe, the Goff for Stafford trade and the Goff contract that I'm assuming is in the same area code, if not the same prefix as Wentz's trade, and that 2 ones with Goff went to Detroit for Matthew Stafford, and the Eagles, I'm assuming, are not going to be asking for somebody's quarterback back. They just want Wentz out and his contract gone with as much coming in. What do you think the framework of a deal looks like for him?
Yeah, I'll answer you with just one little asterisk. I do think if they make a trade with Chicago, which will be kind of intriguing, I would be surprised if Foles didn't come back to the Eagles and be considered part of the compensation just because of the history there. That's
okay.
Just, trying to put 2 and 2 together, not any inside information, but it just kind of seems logical that they'd want 2 quarterbacks that could possibly start. They wouldn't want to have to use up assets and money or a draft pick to get that. So if it's the Bears he ends up going to, I'll actually be surprised if Foles isn't in the deal.
Okay.
I think the better indication as to what this could be is to look at basketball and baseball, where for a long time we've had trades that were really driven by a team's desire to get out of a financial obligation. And it's tended to depress the quality of compensation that you get back in return. Your main acquired benefit is the relief from the guarantees in this case and the cap. The Eagles would have a huge cap charge in this year if they were to move him here soon. But it would then leave them clear after that. Right now they have $120 million over the next 4 years on their cap, and I think it's about 55 over the next 2 years on their caps. They could eat a big number this year and then be free. So I personally would think any team, offering a lot would be making a mistake because he's clearly a risk. You can't get the play you saw last year, or it's a terrible move. So you're assuming $50+ million of guarantees if you trade for him. So to trade for him with the risk that he brings, assuming that kind of financial liability and giving up significant draft compensation, as we know, it only takes one team to disagree with what I'm saying, and it can look like a very stupid comment. But if we're just looking at what the fair market value should be, I don't think it's even close to what we saw in the Rams trade. It's really the Eagles dumping a contract and another team willing to take on that contract for any number of reasons, including that they may think he could be their starting quarterback for a while.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.